Two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the Divine Brothers meeting yet again on this very good week here. Yeah, I'm happy because the weather's changed, but I have something else to report, something else I'm very proud of. This is a Jim Gaffigan line, but I'm going to say it. I read a book, an entire book, start to finish. Yeah, and I'm not talking about William James. Austin. I'm talking about an actual book, and every single person that I've been running into all week, it's like the first thing I say to them. I read a book. Let me tell you about it. And I've been just telling them story after story after story. And I have a feeling of pride, a feeling of doing something that a normal adult human being should be doing regularly. So, guys, I'm happy. I achieved something this week. I read a book. So if you want to congratulate me, you're welcome to do so now.
Well, congratulations. I actually did something bookish this week. I listened to your book club episode. I listened to the latest one, expecting to be impressed. And I was by Bobby. I will say this, Dean. Albert Camus or whatever you were saying
Camus.
from
Camus.
the
Yeah.
get-go. I was like, that's
That's an
not the
old episode. That's from a long time ago.
well,
Yeah.
you were pronouncing that one wrong. And then Austin quoted, what did he say? He said Gurdjieff wrote In Search of the Miraculous. He did not. That was Opinski, brother. You should know that. Wasn't him. I was like, man, I'm correcting these guys on the books.
Man, look at Chase flexing that little peon
That's
brain
all
of
I
his.
got. That's
Man.
all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's quite impressed with himself. Yeah. But I tell you, I've really enjoyed that book club, man. I think that was 3 weeks ago, actually. No, maybe even 4 weeks ago. But the latest one, we just finished the book. And I'm not going to lie, it altered my life because it got me to start praying like a Christian. Yes, I have been praying every day because of William James's argument. Mama would be so proud of me. I'm like, I got the elbow prints on my bed.
Who you
I'm
praying
ready.
to?
Huh? I'm praying to be a conduit to spiritual energy
Are
that might flow through me.
you praying like
Yes.
that Tool song? I'm praying for tidal waves. I'm praying for hurricanes.
What
I
Tool
want
song
to
is that? I don't
I
remember
want to
that.
see it crash down.
Oh,
Uh,
is
Mama,
that
please wash it all away. I don't know. It's an old one.
Jesus? I don't
Yeah.
know, but yeah. So the thing is, they say it doesn't really. This quote from the William James, they're like, it doesn't really matter who you pray to because it's not about that. It's just about opening yourself up to energy beyond the material realm. You know what I mean? I've been doing it. I've been seeking wisdom, and I think it's helped. It's been a good week for me, man. It's been like little tiny meditations that's kind of had me going through the week. And I don't know. I think James was on to something there. I say James, he was quoting other people there. But yeah, it's been good, man. I love that book club. So, Bobby, Austin, thank you for that, man. It's been a good little church session for me every week.
Yeah, I'm glad that you read it, man. Uh, because you're a pretty smart guy, but you just haven't ventured into this kind of literature before.
Yeah.
And therefore, when
Austin,
you,
Chase, did you hear that? Did you hear a pretty smart guy? I've heard him describe you in certain words. Yeah, but I don't think smart is ever one of the ones he's used for
He
you.
was
So thank you,
prefacing it
boss.
to say you're not well cultured. You need to read more. Therefore, that's he was trying to lighten the blow. You should have let him
Chase, you
finish.
can choose to highlight what speaks to you, but me personally, I'm going to try to be optimistic. This is the positive psychology that I'm applying to my own life in order to better myself as a person. And as he says, I'm becoming more cultured as I read on. By the
You
way,
never said
did
any
you
of
read
that.
this book? You didn't read anything, did you? Huh?
You
Huh?
didn't invite me.
Oh, you've invited yourself to the next one, unfortunately. Austin texted me this week. He's like, yeah, me and Bobby had a discussion, but Chase says we should read this book. And I was like, you see this? Just infiltrating, saying I have to have my authoritarian dictation for whatever we're doing. I'm in charge.
You,
My dick is the biggest. That is how Chase functions anywhere he goes. Meanwhile, everybody looks at him and says, who is this little Mexican trying to boss us around? All right. Chase, Why don't you let the democratic process naturally happen and stop trying to impose your wills on others and just let nature flow naturally, huh? I think there's wisdom in that. You should pray on this. You should ask for wisdom
Yeah.
in this particular situation.
I don't even know what book I think I offered a book. That's it. And if we do
Mhm.
know, dude, I think Gurdjieff would be a good choice on one of his books. That would be a cool one as well. So, whatever. I don't care.
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, Dean. As I was saying, because you have a good grasp of things, you have good reading comprehension, and every time we brought up spirituality, like you were very interested, but you hadn't read a lot of literature in that domain.
No,
It's
almost.
like
Yeah.
your spirit was waiting on this moment. And when you brought up that book, I was like, it's an older book. I didn't know how much you would attach to it. And you took to it really well, man. You asked good questions. Like you really kept things in order. I was thoroughly impressed throughout. And now that you've taken up prayer, like I think this is true for a lot of people. They have really bad ideas of what spirituality is, and it looks like something comical or something really rigid that they would prefer not to get into. But once you start reading like the really good literature, that opens up doors. And
Mm.
for really, like I'm not going to go take it too far, but transformations, like really altering your life for the better. And so I'm pretty excited. So the book that so Chase recommended a book, which was a terrible suggestion, was the Book of the Law, right? And it's not terrible because it's a bad book. It's terrible because it's a deeply symbolic book. It's not clear in what it's trying to say.
Mm.
So Aleister Crowley was a Kabbalist, and he was one of the like the most educated Western esotericists alive for like the last few hundred years. And his writings are like layered and deeply symbolic, and you have to be entrenched in that field to really understand what he's saying. So that's the problem with the book. So what me and Bobby did, we just found something more approachable, written by the same guy, Aleister Crowley, about yoga. And he goes through his own philosophy a little bit. He gets into Buddhism, and it's not super long. So I think it's going to be an exciting read. Uh, and I think we might give some culture to Chase because we all know he desperately needs it.
Desperately is the word. Yes. All right, cool. I'm looking forward to that, man. And I got to say, like, in terms of like reading older books and stuff like that, to me, it's only about writing. I don't care how old you are. Like, if this is a book from 200, 300 years ago, if the author knows how to write or the translator knows how to put it into decent, digestible English, I can do it, man. And I feel like William James was super digestible. Like it was not hard to read. Even the philosophy chapter, which I fucking struggled with, at least I got the images. And I was like, okay, at least I'm here with the metaphor. Bobby Austin, can you explain it to me? But it brings up. Austin also recommended to me this week Francis Bacon, who I have read in the past because he talks about education quite a bit. And I really like Bacon because he's short, but just powerful, like just his essays are just like line after line after line, bam, bam, bam. And he has a great one on education, in particular on essay writing. And he has this line where he says, reading makes a fool man, writing makes an exact man, and discussion makes a ready man. And I think that those three pillars of education are so critical to understanding anything. And what you guys have done through the book club is I feel that discussion element, you know, like when you're reading someone's exact words and you're trying to parse them in your own brain, you get this internal dialogue that kind of limits your perspective. But the second you bring in other people to open up the discussion, you got a whole new world with Bobby, especially. Like I feel like Bobby's really got a totally unique perspective, especially as opposed to you, Austin. You guys are really yin and yang. And I love that back and forth that you guys do because every time we discuss something, I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that. And I walk away feeling like I got even more out of the book. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm really happy with it, y'all.
Hey, Austin, did you ever read that book, Meetings with Remarkable Men?
Uh, I I think I read the first chapter, and
Okay.
I want to say just generally, I think Gurdjieff is a great writer. And you spoke very highly of In Search of the Miraculous. I thought that was a great book too.
What I haven't read it. I got stuck on a plane recently down here, so I read like half of it, and it was interesting. You, Dean was talking about different perspectives. So he's a young kid, and he grew up around all these theologians, and he witnessed like a séance where they did the Ouija board, and the table shook. He witnessed like a man that couldn't walk be able to walk again. He witnessed like a circle on the ground drawn, and like the person couldn't get out of it. And he's like, fuck, he sees it and he goes, he talks to the doctor, he talks to the psychologist, and like they give he goes and talks to the priest. This is the devil, this is hysteria, it's all in their head, this is real. He hasn't given an opinion yet, but I love how he goes and asks all the most educated men that he knows what they think of these kind of spiritual events. It's fascinating. I was like, that's what a great mind would do, especially in their youth, right? Go to the smartest people that you know and just gather their opinion and kind of add it to your own, I guess. But he hasn't shared his own opinion yet, but he's witnessed all these things. And I that's what I love about the spiritual side. It's just the crazy shit. Like the Book of the Law, I hadn't read it. I just saw a video on it. But it's like this fucker was nuts. This guy was crazy, and some of the attributes in that sound a little out there. But I was like, it'd be fun to read. But fair enough, man. If you guys found something better by him, we'll jump into it. And the other thing, what do you guys think of like seances and shit like that? See, I imagine Dean would be like, that's all bullshit. It's nothing like, and a lot of people in that book say that, like the psychologist and the doctor. And then a couple people are more so open to the idea.
You ever heard of Houdini? The
Yeah.
magician. Um,
You say he was good for
so
the escape artist more so than the magician, I think, right? Isn't that
he was the ultimate escape artist, yeah.
right?
But he dedicated the last half of his life to defaming spiritualists, like seance people and all that sort of stuff. And spiritualism was gigantic in his time. Like in England and America, that people were doing seances. It was like something you would do at a party. You'd like have a seance or something like that. And there were all these professionals like making all this money from it, contacting the dead and stuff. And he went all over the world, like going to like the most legit psychics, the most legit seance people, and calling out their bullshit. And he was so successful at it that the movement essentially died. It just disappeared because he just every single one he's like, yeah, he's manipulating, he's moving shit under the table. There's somebody behind the curtain. They're using a voice box. All that's because he was just so kind of like Penn and Teller, where they reveal all the tricks behind the magic, and you're like, oh, it's all just fucking clever. And so after I read all about Houdini and how he dedicated his life to that, I was like, it's all bullshit, and it's always been bullshit.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
when he died, I think his wife decided to go. Like they made an agreement that his wife would go back to his grave every so often, and I think conduct seances. And they're like they made an agreement that if there was an afterlife, Houdini would show back up.
Right.
Uh, but apparently he never did, right? And I think after a while she stopped doing it. But just because this really weird, like cul-de-sac of so-called spirituality, it's more like a parlor trick, is not true. I don't think that's a broad, critique of like religion or spirituality as a whole. But yeah, a lot of these dudes were uh, shysters and con artists and confidence men. Some of the original people, there's two girls that I forget their names, but they were able to make like clicking sounds because they were like clicking their joints, and they became profoundly famous. But eventually, they admitted it was fake. I've seen there's a lot of very interesting pictures online, from like Ghostbusters. They talked about ectoplasm, and there's pictures of large globules of ectoplasm like leaving people's mouths and so on and so forth. But it appears that's all like various grades of trickery and manipulation of film, sadly, because I think ultimately I've experienced this in my own life, when somebody passes away, you have a lot of very sad people who want closure from the deceased, and you have people that take advantage of this. And you have a number of people on television that like do these cold readings and just really fuck with people's heads ultimately. Do you remember those people's names? Her name like Silva, or she was like a heavy set woman. But there's also that guy who had a show called like Talking to the Dead or something like that.
I know who
Dude,
you're talking about. Yeah, that guy.
well,
I think South Park did a episode on him.
Austin, do you believe this is real, or do
name?
you believe it's all just a fucking show? Is there any validity to any of it?
Maybe like 1% I would give credence to. I think people who cultivate extraordinary states of mind and profound amount of dedication are able to leave their body, are able to reach like extraordinary altered states in which I think miraculous things can happen, from spontaneous healing to maybe psychic events. But the people that you see on television doing it for money, like these people are completely fake, sadly. And again, they're taking advantage of the bereaved, and the rest of us would just like to know that there's an afterlife, right? That like there's some consolation. I think that would take a lot of the stress off of life if the seriousness of it was reduced, because it's like a video game in which you potentially could have a second and third chance. So they take advantage of the human predicament, and it's really sad, really. Like these people should be kicked out of society and humiliated.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man. I after reading that William James book, I'm convinced that all spirituality, well, no. The majority of spirituality is incredibly individualistic. You know what I mean? Like a religious experience is something that happens in your own world. Yeah. Anytime people are like, I guess, subjecting people to their spiritual power, I'm I immediately go to bullshit. It's very internal, you know. So seances, circles, anything that comes from a horror movie. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna buy it, man.
I totally get the disproving because I mean, that's a great way to make money. Play on someone's belief system, especially if they're all in. God knows how much people will pay to talk to their dead husband or something like that. But
Yeah, have you ever seen the guy, the old man Randall, the psychic disprover guy on YouTube? He was very popular for a while. He had these old Austin. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, James Randy, or like the Great Randy or something.
That's pretty damn like like he just publicly on television just absolutely humiliates psychic after psychic, you know? And it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, well, if there's no test case to prove this shit, then yeah, I'm afraid that's one that I'm just gonna file away into the bullshit category.
what do you think? Like, because that Gurdjieff's probably might be one of the smartest or the smartest guy I've ever read. Try to keep up with, and with him stating, "Yeah, I've seen it. I believe it." Like I saw it with my own eyes. And then he talks about like these ancient fucking philosophical schools that spoke with telepathy. They didn't write anything down and they kept in communication across the world. I'm like, I was, you know, I don't know, man. If you had those abilities, I don't think you'd be on TV. I think they're possible though. Like Austin
I
said,
mean,
maybe a very unbelievably small percentage of people that
smart people make stupid things all the time. Isaac Newton was absolutely convinced of alchemy. Like he absolutely believed you could turn lead into gold. He was obsessed with it. His journals are filled with just alchemy. Also filled with incredible spiritual obsession, like angels and things like that, Like just because you have a high IQ or just because you happen to be incredibly good at writing doesn't necessarily mean every word you say is dripping with truth.
well, so you don't believe in alchemy either.
No,
Hmm. What
you
about
do.
you, Austin?
Alchemy, no. You might find this interesting, Dean. James co-founded the American Society for Psychical Research,
Ah,
ASPR,
okay.
and there's this guy by the last name Piper that he believed was probably a legitimate psychic, and it says here that he attended this guy's seances for 13 years and found his communications dramatic and believable. And he talks about James using the white crow analogy, and to illustrate his belief that even one piece of evidence could disprove a general rule. He considered Piper's mediumship a white crow that challenged the common view that all mediums are fraudulent. And it goes on to say that his research in this area influenced his philosophy. So, you know, again, that's my view, is that you could have a 10,000 fraudulent people. And it doesn't necessarily just prove that mediumship or these things are false. It just proves that there's 10,000 frauds. But perhaps it came from one guy that was actually legitimate. And that video that we sent you on the Tibetan yogis, they hinted that they had knowledge of previous lives. These are people that spent their entire lives dedicated in a legitimate, authentic way to cultivating some of the highest states of consciousness that human beings are capable of, and the highest degrees of virtue and truthfulness. So when people like that say things like that, it carries an enormous amount of weight. But if you have some lady that says that she was Cleopatra in her past life and she works as a bartender, you know, that doesn't carry much weight with me, because there's
Yeah,
no
that's I
effort
don't
behind
know
it.
what you mean there. I will say two things to speak for both sides of this. Both Chase and I have had genuine psychic experiences with a woman that we both really respected, you know. And the very first thing she said to me as a 17-year-old in the closet boy was, "Oh, you're gay, aren't you?" Which was either absolutely remarkable intuition or some kind of psychic power. And also, she didn't charge me for the entire thing, which I thought was shocking. And that was completely legitimate in my mind. Everything she said touched me, and I literally shook afterwards after I dealt with this woman. So I believe that was a genuine psychic encounter in my life. But at the same time, I'm sure Vic has been yelling at you about this, Chase. But has he told you about the Joseph Campbell Asian journals? You know,
No.
it's an audio book that he was like, go listen to it. And I've been listening to it on the way to work. And it's just Campbell and his journal of like him going through India and Japan and stuff. And you can tell like at the beginning, he's like traveling with a Swami, and like he's running into all these spiritual people in India and stuff like that. And it's amazing because you see him so frustrated because he's like, oh, it's all bullshit. Like he was immediately like, the Swami is full of shit. They only care about money. They all look at me as the dumbass American. They're not spiritual at all. This is like a fucked up culture and all that stuff. And he doesn't really get it until he goes to like these like sacred caves and stuff like that. And it's the architecture and the artifacts that begin to speak to him, not the people, you know? And so I see that dichotomy of the bullshit in abundance. But yes, I think it's possible to have the one that breaks through in the millions, you know? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's well said, Dean. Both sides. That the other account in that Gurdjieff book, he sees his aunt, and the aunt's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like, I talked to the psychic, and there was something wrong with your right side, which she's like, "I didn't tell anybody," and it just healed up from the hospital. And then she said, "Stay away from guns," and he said a month later he got shot. And it stood out to him, and it was kind of like it stood out to you about the like if anyone said, "Have you ever had a psychic moment?" You'd explain that session. Like, there's no way she could have known. I'm not a flaming homo, and she did. And for me, the first thing she told me, she was like, "Tell me about Japan." Right when I sat down, and I was like, that was the time I was reading all the Japanese books and wanted to go. I don't know how you know that. There's no way you know that unless you were in my house. So yeah, I appreciate the individual account, and if the individual account has the reputation I really respect, then I give it a possibility. Sure.
And you know, I think that the best moments in history are the weird spiritual. And Chase, I'm the same way, man. I'm inclined towards the wackiness. You know, I was telling Austin and Bobby earlier. So this book I read is History of Tibet. You know, and it was just a really, really well written book. So like you just plowed through it, right? And there's this moment where they convert like the Stimpo, who's the leader of Tibet. He's like, all right, everybody, we're all Buddhists now, but this is like a shamanistic nation, right? They believe in the mountain god and the sky god, and they're like, we're not sure how we feel about this Buddha thing. The second he does it, a Buddhist temple floods and lightning strikes the palace. And everybody in Tibet's like, fuck Buddhism, get it out of here. We can't have this. So they kick out all the Buddhists. But the Sinpo's like, okay, okay. A couple of years later, let's try again. He invites a special Buddhist dude from Pakistan. Bobby knew the name. Austin, you remember the name of that guy, the tantric Buddhist?
Yeah, that was Padma Sambhava.
That name, yes. This guy comes and he's like a special tantric Buddhist, and their specialty is like rituals and like doing crazy, like summoning up spirits and all that stuff. He shows up in Tibet and he's like, he's got this sacred mirror that he's brought from India. And he brings in the mirror and he summons the demons from Tibet that are causing all of these issues. They come out of the mirror, manifest as people, and he rebukes them and is like, how dare you try to stop Buddhism from spreading? And then the other monk converts them to the doctrine of karma and they all become Buddhists. And that's how Buddhism comes to Tibet. Like that's just a crazy story, you know what I mean? I love that idea of some weirdo from Pakistan with a sacred mirror coming in and converting demons to Buddhism. Like those are the coolest stories. And even if it is bullshit, you know, certainly the symbols of it speak out to us and kind of make your heart go, ooh, that sounds cool. I want to believe it. And maybe that resonates more than whatever other bullshit might have been going on during the day. So I love when there's excitement, when there's spirituality, when there's angels and demons. That makes it more exciting.
I that is a great story in the fact that I don't know if I really believe it, but I don't know if it matters because it's such a great story. It's like, oh, that's how I got the Tibet got Buddhism. That's super cool.
Yeah.
It Yeah, I don't know if I believe it. It's like that. I was in Bhutan once, and I went to this temple with the chicks. I was saying, "Mom," she's like, I went here when I couldn't get pregnant. This is the Buddhist of fertility. This Buddha had a huge cock, like it was a monster cock." And I'm like, "Dude, why is his cock so big?" And it's like, "Look, you can read. He went around slaying demons with his dick. He'd fucking pin them down and fuck them into submission." And I was like, I didn't ask her. I probably should have. Like, do they really believe this? But I loved it. He was my favorite Buddha for sure. You know, I was like, what a great story. You can fucking achieve enlightenment through fucking down demons. I love it.
It, Man, that is so interesting to me. Like just an entirely different well. Like I wonder if any experience can be lifted to a divine level. You know what I mean? Like in the same way that the ancient Greeks have like the blacksmith god and the hearth god, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like
Sure.
they they took fucking to that divine level, you know? And
The
like what
first
if
one you take to the divine level. Absolutely.
yeah, right.
Yes.
You know, but I mean, like, isn't it interesting to think about like whatever your field of experience is to take it to a divine level? Like, take psychology to a divine level or take cooking to a divine level. You know, I love that idea. I think that's really cool that you can inject some kind of spirituality into whatever your field of experience is. I might have to make. I had a friend who prayed before fucking. It was like his religion. He was a Swiss guy, and he
Wow.
taught. He it was the only thing he could talk about. But he was like, you have to get your mind right before fucking, and you clear your mind before. And I would pray, and I would make sure that my dick was right. You know, he talked. He did all these dick exercises, like not letting himself. Like having to pee and like stopping halfway to make his dick stronger, you know, like shit like that. But he was like this dude his life, he was a couch surfing guy. So women would come in, he'd fuck them, and a new set would come in the next week and all that. And it was his whole life. And he had a degree of spirituality to it. And even though that's not my bag, I was like, all right, that's your religion. Do your thing, man. You know, and it made me kind of want to have more of that in my own life. You know, maybe something less cool than fucking, but something. Yeah.
We have a divine podcast every week. I mean, imagine the fucking confidence somebody has to say or have to name their podcast divine. It's fucking, they think highly of themselves, and maybe the product's that good. Maybe it is. Hey, I was gonna say on the other spiritual thing, the one thing I liked about Star Wars, I was always cheering for the dark side, and I think I would have been a part of the dark side. I bought a shirt this week at Target. It said, uh, "Welcome to the dark side," and it's got all the Star Wars dark side guns got on it. It's fantastic. Why is the dark side so much more appealing than the good one, man?
I didn't know that you like Star Wars at
I,
all.
I like it till the dark side lost.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I was at Walmart a few weeks ago, and there's a clearance sale on t-shirts, and they were just like a bunch of Star Wars shirts. Like I don't really particularly. I think Star Wars is fine. But I bought like 5 Star Wars shirts, and I wear them all the time now. And everyone thinks I'm a fanatic of Star Wars, but I'm like, no, they were just $2 shirts.
What if there was an ending to Star Wars where the dark side won? How do you think that would be received? Would it be blasphemous? Would they praise it? I don't know how
What are you
they would.
talking about? There's lots of Star Wars where when the Empire is in charge of everything. That's the entire prequels,
No,
man.
no, like
Empire
the
comes out on
finale,
top,
the
you
final,
know?
like Luke Skywalker gets killed, and
He
Everybody's
does
murdered.
get killed. He does, yeah.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was inspired by Nazism and Taoism. Nazis
And
because
Joseph
like
Campbell. Yeah, he read
yeah,
Joseph Campbell and was like, I love this shit, you know? Yeah.
yeah. I actually remember reading a book where Campbell talks about Star Wars as a modern iteration of
The power of myth,
ancient
yeah. The
mythology.
OG.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he does
I
it there.
I thought the Game of Thrones was going to end with just something a bit darker, a bit on like an unbelievable ending that nobody ever saw coming. I guess that's what I always look forward to in any show, and even in life. It's like, give me something that I didn't see coming. Everything's just so choreographed. It gets old, man.
The, one of the this is the last great show I saw, but that's how I felt about Succession, right? The
Hmm.
way Succession, it was so perfect. Like that is,
The ending.
it was just like it was exactly how it needed to end. You know what I mean? Austin, did you ever see that show, Succession? You know what I'm talking about?
I watched like 2 episodes of it.
Oh man, it is if you're ever just like in one of those situations where you got time to burn and you don't feel like reading, you just want to turn off your brain, go back to it. Go back to it. I'm telling you, it's gonna get better. It's just gonna get better and better. And yeah, but when you get to that ending, it's just so deliciously like just petty and perfect, just exactly what you imagined. And I love it. Love it. It was fantastic, you know?
It was a great ending. I got stuck on that plane too, and I was watching. I don't watch TV ever. The Penguin. There's a series called The Penguin, and the Critical
Oh, the
Drinker
Batman
actually,
one.
yeah, he gave
Yeah.
it. He's like, this is you got to see this. So I was like, fuck it. I'm watching it on the plane. It's good. And I have you ever? He's an ugly, deformed man that just wants to get to the top, and he plays every side. I've never seen a character play every side. Like every person he's talking to, he's feeding them bullshit. He's like, I'm on your side. I'm on your side. And every one of them's like, we know you're full of shit, man. But he just plays whose side he needs to be on. And he's just barely staying alive. But he's loving it. I've never seen this approach before. I've read about it, like in those 48 Laws of Power, but I've never seen a character play it. It's a really fucking good show, man.
That's a so that actor, right? That's Colin. Is it Farrell? Colin Farrell?
No, is it?
Yes. Yes. He
Stop.
puts on the makeup and he gained weight, man. That's Colin Farrell. Alexander. It's Alexander, man. Like I always thought he was a really shitty
He
actor,
was. Yeah.
but I've heard that this is a good show. I haven't actually
It is
seen it.
Colin Farrell. Well, maybe he just needed to be fatter and grotesque, and that's what would make him a great actor. And now that he is,
There's
he's
there's
fantastic.
something about like there's something about the Tony Soprano look. You know what I mean? A big, like fat but powerful. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's just the boss look. You know, like kind of like the Godfather kind of look. You know, like there's something about just being a big dude walking around and playing the game. You know, like you've earned being fat. You know, like yeah, you're supposed to be kind of fat. You know? Yeah,
There is something to that, man. It's a great
yeah.
fucking look, dude. I'm thinking about it, the psychological, but I don't want to ruin the show, but he a couple times in the show they're like, "Why'd you want to be a gangster?" And he's speaking about this gangster he sees growing up, and he's the fat kid with the limp. And he's like, "This gangster would help people out. He made the neighborhood safer." Like he's crying. He's like, "This gangster helped out and also did horrible shit." He like that's the role he wants to be. He wants to be the dude that saves everybody because he's the fat, ugly piece of shit. Gonna do it
Yeah.
another way. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Man, I wonder if there's real people like that, you know?
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely, man. You got to lean into your altruism because you got nothing else. You're fucking hideous or stupid or see that all the time.
It was it's interesting when you see people's what do you think about the character? Let's say you have a friend and you play a game with that friend, and in the game they become a real son of a bitch,
I'm like,
you
what do
know?
you got an example? What do you mean?
So the other night, like I sometimes go off and play board games because I work with teachers and they're all nerds, you know. So like once every 2 months, they always drag me into it. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play, you know, because it's like 10 of them all together. It's an excuse to hang out. Anyways, I was playing with this South African guy who I work with. I talk to him. The conversations we have are all like work related, you know, that sort of stuff. But we're playing this game. It's an aliens game, like, you know, aliens fucking up and killing people and stuff. And everybody's like, you can betray people and you can fuck people over or whatever. This guy he just started fucking everyone over, just revel like laughing as he was doing it, just like, yeah, I'm gonna eject you out of the spaceship, yeah, I'm gonna send the alien into your room, and yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up here and stuff like. And he was just laughing hysterically, like evil, like an evil. I never heard him laugh before, and it was like an evil laugh. And I was just looking at him the whole time. I was like, I'm gonna work with you on Monday, dude. I'm not gonna forget this. You're not gonna put back on your mask. I know exactly who you are now, you know? And yeah, I'm joking around and stuff, but there was a lot of revelry there. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be taking that with me back into work a little. I'm gonna look at him with one eye a little bit higher, you know? It may have been pretend, but Jesus Christ, that was revelry, man. That was some evil, evil revelry.
It's interesting. You think those role-playing games where you get to pick your character? Would you say first time playing a game for most people, they're picking the character they see themselves as like as a huge chunk of themselves, or the exact opposite, like the alter ego? Like which do you imagine is more common?
I've been told that when it comes to men, the number one thing that people do is a hot girl. Like when they
What?
make a character. Yeah, I've been told
Really?
that.
No.
Yeah, you make a smoking hot heroine. Like you look at all these, it's all
What?
like, oh yeah. So like I still play, like if I'm ever like in the mood to relax for
What?
years, I've played modded Skyrim, right? Which is like a going around with a sword game, you know, that sort of thing. And there's literally millions of mods online, and you always go up see what the latest is, because if you download a mod, it can completely change the game. So the game is always changing. You can do new things and all that. Anyways, you go to the top mods, it's always just like, you know, character model, new titties, new genitalia, new skin, new face, new like, and it's all just women. They don't know men. It's all just like hot ass women that you can custom make and go slay dragons with, you
This
know?
doesn't make sense to me. You think this is the number one choice of guys that want to be hot chicks? Why would they want to be hot chicks?
No, I think it's to jerk off too. I think it's fantasy, you know, like
That they're in control of the chick, but that chick can bang guys in the
I
games
think
and
it just
stuff.
makes them hard. You know what I mean? Like,
Does
look at their
it?
titties. You know? Yeah, I think so. I think so. You know,
I-
like I'm not exactly sure, but I can tell you that's what's number one on the mod DB or
Wow.
whatever. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, how do
yeah.
you play? Do you play as someone that's like an ass? Like I play
I'm always making new characters. Always,
your first
always like
time.
trying
Your first
to.
time though. Your first time you're playing. How you playing?
I'm the sort of guy when I play a game, I will play a character for a few hours and be like, ah, I fucked this up and start over. And I'll do that 20 times until I finally get one that I like, you know?
Okay, to match you, to match exactly
Yeah,
what you're looking for. Yeah, yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I match me. I don't ever go for anything that I probably wouldn't be.
mm.
That's not a chunk of my personality. I couldn't be a hot chick sorceress. There's no fucking way. I wouldn't
I've
enjoy
done
the.
it just for the hell of it, you know, and I had fun. Like I was like, yeah, she's cool, you know, and all that. And
Okay,
then I
fair.
then I moved on to another person. You know, it's always about the different stuff for me. Like I never want to repeat the same thing.
Austin, you never got into gaming, did you? Or did you? I don't know.
No, I game all the time. Yeah, I play Battlegrounds primarily.
The fuck
I've
is
been
that?
playing. It's a battle royale, and I've been playing Crash Bandicoot as well the last couple of days. The Witcher 3, uh, Cyberpunk, a
Did you
couple.
playing?
Yeah,
You playing a lot of games, man. Never mind. You're a big time gamer.
Dude, I
yeah.
hold on. Okay, so you mind if I go down a nerdy rabbit hole with him? Yeah.
Cyberpunk, where are you going?
There's two. So first of all, Austin, I have been told by so many people that The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest games of all time. You know, I can't get into that fucking game, man. I just can't. I can't get out of the first area. The combat is like feels weird and clunky. I hate going around on a horse. I don't like the quest system. I don't like the money system. Like I can't. I have tried multiple. I have it on my computer and I have tried it over the years multiple times and I never can do it. Can you tell me like first of all, can you appreciate my perspective? And second of all, is there a cure?
I don't know because like generally I'm not really a fan of RPG games. Like I think you said that you played Oblivion
Sure.
or okay.
Skyrim, all the Elder Scrolls stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have a lot to compare it to. I found it compelling because there's a lot of opportunity for progression, and at the time, especially, I was like going through a really hard time in my relationship, and I was looking for a means of escape, and I needed something to dump a lot of time into.
Mm.
And Like there's a so The Witcher 3 for me, it's a fantasy world with like a million different choices. And I think the combat is serviceable, but it's not fantastic. But I think there's a wonderful sense of progression, and you're always trying to find like rare gear and fight unique monsters. And I like the part where you had to do a little bit of research. Like you'd come against a creature, and you got to look up the kind of like oil to put on your sword, and the kind of stuff you have to drink, and like what kind of attacks hurt them the most. So I found it interesting as like a puzzle as well. So I think it worked on a lot of different levels. But there's a lot of games that people said were masterpieces that I didn't really like or didn't feel compelled by. And so I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd try to convince you. If it doesn't speak to you, I would say put like 4 or 5 hours into it at least. And if it doesn't catch you by then maybe it's just not for you.
Sometimes games just don't speak to you, man. Like I totally get that, you know. Like Crash Bandicoot, what you just talked about. Yeah, they re-released all the old Crash Bandicoot, like made it nice and fancy and stuff like that. And those games, I used to play them as a kid. Like I'm play well, Chase was playing Resident Evil or whatever. I was like playing Crash Bandicoot, you know. And do you know what I remember about those games? They were fucking hard. Like they were really, really challenging. And it was definitely this kind of game where I would just throw my controller against, like, fuck this. I can't make this jump and blah, 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 blah. And so I couldn't go back to that shit, man. I couldn't. Like, it was too much stress. Too
Well,
much.
you guys laid out two different types of game, but those are that's okay. Gaming in general, those are two great types, right? You got the Crash Bandicoot, like finger to eye coordination or whatnot, and the other one's like very much just stimulating, make me think, let me put the right personality traits in my party. Like I always found the Austin, well, the example he gave more appealing. Like Baldur's Gate 2, build your party. You know, are we
Mm.
good? Are we evil? Are we neutral? Can we be bribed? Am I gonna fuck this woman to get this? It's like I like those choices. That seemed more fun. But maybe I was just never good at the Mario type games, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
favorite was always City Builders. I to this
Mm.
day, I still play City Builders because to me, it's all about
But
relaxing.
City Builders was
All about
different.
relaxing. Yeah.
Different because you can conquer other cities, right? You can build them up, you can get attacked.
It
Like there's a
depends
lot
on the
going on.
game.
There's a lot
You're
going
thinking of
on.
like Zeus, you
Yeah,
know,
that was
but
fun. Zeus was
there was
fun.
it always felt like a little garden to me. Like I'm
Oh.
getting it all arranged and it's all functioning
Make your
properly.
city beautiful? Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved that
Absolutely.
one, man. See, like you only played Zeus. The best, so those games. Right? So me and Chase used to play these ancient city builders. They're super old games. Pharaoh was the original one. Then they made Zeus and stuff. But the best one is the Chinese one that nobody's played called Emperor. Yeah, and it's perfect. I love that game. It is so good. Like all the systems, all the weird things they have with all the other, they fix them and it just functions. It functions beautifully. And that game, I've put maybe thousands of hours into that game because it's my ultimate relax. Like if I've had a hard day, I'm done working out, I don't want to go to bed yet, I don't want to watch anything. Put that in, play with my little garden for a little while, and I feel shufu, man. I feel relaxed. I'm ready to go.
Hey, fuck yeah, man. I love that Zeus Poseidon game. I love all right, we're gonna worship this god. We're gonna see if we can conquer the world doing that. Sometimes you could, sometimes you couldn't. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fucking fun. Yeah.
man.
Yeah. PUBG, it's a battle royale. So you're dropped into a location and the map gradually shrinks. But I really like when I'm playing it communally, I like it for the just hanging out with my friends and talking shit. I
Okay.
think that's a really good aspect of video games in general. But playing by myself, especially when it's like 1v1, it's like a chess match. Like you're trying to take the right position, you're trying to pick the right tool for the job. You're checking to see if you have throwables. So are you going to throw a flashbang into the room? I think there's like a lot of cognitive levels to these kind of games that are maybe not given a lot of credit. Like I think they genuinely make you more intelligent and better problem solvers than you would be otherwise. And also like it's like incredibly increases your hand-eye coordination. There's a study about doctors that played competitive video games that they were like significantly better at doing surgeries than the doctors that didn't play video games. So I think like as a mental tool, they're really, really helpful. it's just like you can't just do it 20 hours a day. I guess that's like there's diminishing returns on everything. But I think like doing it a little bit, I can speak for myself. Video games have taught me a lot, especially as a very young person, that you come across something that's really difficult and you realize that there's all these skills that you have to develop to get past the boss, like ducking and diving and hitting buttons at the exact right moment. So it actually taught me a lot about life, surprisingly,
Like,
playing games like Crash Bandicoot.
let me ask you this. If you're playing with, because this is a good aspect with the community aspect. You're playing with your buddies, you're playing the kill 'em game. What if you're the weak link? I mean, does that bother you? Or it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm still just having fun with my friends. Like, if you're good at the game and you're killing everybody, that makes sense to me. If you're the shitty one, which I've been, it's not so fun. It's not so fun playing with your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. I'm not the shitty one.
Mm.
I will say that. But it's like, how good of friends are they? Like, do they talk shit to you? Because ultimately, like, look,
You don't
dude,
want to
it
be the
does.
reason they lost, though. You want to be
Yeah,
part of yeah, that's it. It's not so much the blowback.
I'm confused because I'm there primarily for the camaraderie. Because like, no, we're not playing for stakes. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. It has no effect. So that's how I look at it. Like my friends don't they talk shit to each other in a lighthearted kind of way, right? But yeah, it never feels good to be the one to get your team killed. It's serious for about 10 seconds. But yeah, no, I totally get that.
I think the
There's
bear.
a
Oh, go ahead, Dean.
there's this guy I'm friends with here in China, and he's just a pure nerd. Like, didn't get married. All of his money just goes to video games. You know what I mean? And there's one game he plays called Mech Warrior Online. It's like big mechs fighting each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like Gundam, like big, huge, massive robots fighting each other. And I said, I want to see you play one day, man. And so I go and watch him. This community that he's a part of, it was exactly like the U.S. Marines. You know what I mean? Like they're like talking to each other, like Bravo Company, right, like going to inbound, and like it's all code. They're all going into it and stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is no joke. You guys are taking this really seriously. And he's like, yeah, you want to play? And I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna make this so bad and stuff. But you know what? This community, they were so cool and so forgiving. They're like, yeah, when you go in, you say inbound. Yeah. And when you go here, you say Bravo team this way and stuff like that. And I was fucking up left and right, but they were so damn kind to me. But by the end of the hour, I was going like Bravo team, go right, and stuff like that. And I was kind of getting it, man, just because the community was so good. So it's nice, man. It's not always, shut the fuck up, you little faggot. You get your ass out of this place. I'm gonna fuck you up. Blah, 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 So yeah, a good experience.
Yeah, I had that experience with a game called Hell Let Loose, which it's a very difficult World War II simulator. And I think people just want you to care. Like, you can't be at like effing around and like
Right.
shooting your teammates. Like, if you're actually trying, people are like very generous with their time and will like help you for like hours, like teach you how to do everything. Because like one more person adding to the mystique of the game, of the atmosphere, that actually cares what like and adds depth to the game. Like, you're actually an important part of the game. Because if you
Yeah.
weren't there, if nobody was there, it wouldn't be what it is. So
One of my great regrets in life is I never made an online friend. Like almost everybody I know has online friends. Like, yeah, that's my buddy in Turkey. We play Overwatch together. Just I never played multiplayer games, so I never had an online friend. I imagine you probably got quite a few, Austin, yeah?
yeah, let me tell you about him.
All
There's
my
a guy.
friends are online.
There's a friend I've known for like 5 years. I met him playing Apex Legends. He is in the Air Force. He was in Japan at the time. His name was Poppin' a Chub, and I never knew his name for like 3 years. I didn't know his
Hopping a
name.
Chub.
And
Hey, what's
yeah,
happening? A Chub. Yeah. Did you like also when you're playing like Apex Legends and saying you're like, yeah, like I'm sure you guys start talking and stuff. Like, so you're talking to this guy in the Air Force and you're like, yeah, so Schopenhauer, yeah, like I was reading him today. And do you break into that stuff with him? Yeah.
like I do it like how I told you. Like, oh, like he's like, what are you up to? Like, oh, I read this book, but he's not that kind of guy. But I also
Yeah.
have another friend. His I don't even know if I can say his handle, but he was like really really high up in the Marine Corps, and he just retired, but he was involved in like leaving Iraq and Afghanistan, and he was part of this
Oh my
botched
God.
drone attack that killed like all these innocent people. And he was telling me about being in the room at the time. I was like,
He's
oh,
retired and not like canned. Oh my God. Yeah.
no, he retired, and he ended up being a security guy for this billionaire that does, his family does hostile takeovers in some area or another. But he's like this really cool guy. But we're like, I'm like, yeah, like it sucks how Israel's like genociding the Palestinians. He was like, yeah, I was there. Like the Israelis are pretty cool guys, and they're all my friends, so I'm kind of on their side. And he's like, you'd probably do the same thing if it was like if it was you. I was like, oh, okay, man. Like I don't want to talk about this, but uh,
Wow.
yeah, he was
Military
really
people.
high.
You
He was
think
really
it's,
Chase,
high
you
up.
I was gonna
Chase, do
say,
you remember the colonel? You remember
yeah,
him?
sure, sure.
Yeah. Chase knew somebody like that, and he had those kind of stories. It was really cool.
So I get a lot of people when I talk to them in therapy, a lot of their friends are online. And they tell these online friends an like unbelievable amounts of stuff. I don't think the amount they share would happen as much in person because of the distance, because maybe you don't know their real name, maybe you don't even know what they look like. But I have found that people feel more comfortable opening up to a friend from a distance than from a friend face to face.
Mm, I guess so. That's weird. I would think that the face to face is critical. You know, like there's something about having
I think
human,
face to face is harder. For a lot of people, it's harder.
but more intense. You know, like I think. I mean, I'm guessing again, no online friends here, but I figure that face to face makes for a more intimate, deeper relationship. That is my theory.
Sure,
Yeah.
but it's nowadays, since most people, especially younger generations, friends are online. They will tell them everything via text message online, like every horrible thing they're going through, and that's easier for them than doing it for face to face.
I often wonder about like how Bobby one time was talking about like how human beings emit like this I think it's light, was he saying, Austin? Like people like cells emit light and stuff like that. And that there's something about the human touch, like touching another human being that genuinely connects us beyond like just an actual physical touch. Like there's an exchange at a physical level that happens when you're in the same room with somebody, and I think that's irreplaceable. And I really would like to encourage more of that in my life than to go online with people. Because frankly, I talk enough. So it'd be better just to have the presence of someone around me, you know?
You're a dying ideology. So am I. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm an
think.
old soul.
I think everybody prefers the text now. Distance and text message. That's how they prefer to open up.
I guess so. Yeah. That's a shame because I like people.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. Is that it? Shall we stop there? Yeah.
But
Anything else to
I
share
wanted to
this
know
week?
what Austin thought. Does he think the distance is how people open up nowadays, or is it preferable face to face?
I mean, arguably, you're never going to get the same degree of connection. Uh, I, I'm
Do,
looking
do,
at it right now.
Dude, these
What?
friends you have online, would they be sharing this much information with you in person, or do you think they do it because you're just a screen name?
That's probably part of it. Like he's told me, like a lot of people talked like very deep parts of their lives, and probably not because. And again, we probably wouldn't be talking to each other at all because like we're not we're so far apart in so many different ways. It doesn't even make sense. But because we have a shared interest, it's like that's the opportunity to talk about all these other things. So it's like it's a very the internet for all the bad things. It's like it's a like it opens up a lot of good possibilities too. Because I've had a lot of really good friends that I would have never been friends with otherwise. But because we had a shared interest, it like led to all this other stuff. So
Have you ever met any of these people in person?
uh, no, no.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't even care. I don't even want to know what they
But
look like,
I
you
think
know?
it makes the relationship deeper in a lot of ways. I think you can tell this person something. You don't know what they look like. You don't know where you've never heard anything. You just, that's my buddy from the other side of the world. And it's
Do you have
easy.
an online? You got online friends?
Me?
Hmm.
No, but I did this. What's the site where you just get logged in and talk to people?
Omegle?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
jerking off site, yeah, of
Well,
course.
you get some of those
Yeah,
guys. Yeah.
sure. Chat roulette, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever it
that
is.
was
Dude, I
fun back.
would do that. I anywhere. Anybody. Like we would get pretty real pretty quick. Like it was interesting how desperate people were to open. I even got one guy who was like, he was about to click out. I was like, oh, you about to exit out? What are you here to jerk off? He's like, yeah, I'm gay and I'm in the closet and I'm a doctor. It's a problem. And I was like,
Yeah. Dude, I've talked to the jerking off people, me and my friend Katie, and Katie's kind of hot, so like they were all about it when Katie would show up and stuff, and we would talk, hey, pull up the camera, let's see your face, like that sort of
yeah,
stuff. And sometimes they would talk to us, sometimes,
that guy.
One of them was really hot too. I remember being like, dude, why are you fucking showing your cock around? You could do your face and your cock together, Like it was weird.
Mm.
It is interesting. I had some great conversations on there, but I'm so drained usually at the end of the, but dude, people open up about anything, everything and anything,
Yeah,
man. You find a
that's
common interest, and then once you bond over that, they'll tell you anything.
You think anybody's ever gone like, yeah, I'm a serial killer, like I'm fucking like offing somebody right now. There's somebody tied up in my basement, or whatever. Like, you ever think it gets that crazy?
Yeah. Somewhere on the internet, it has gotten that crazy. Absolutely. I could totally see a serial killer logging into one of those sites. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, I got someone locked in the basement. What
One
should I
of
do?
my
Yeah.
one of the hardest times I ever laughed in my life because I was not expecting it. It was like chat roulette, and it was a video of Kermit the Frog, right? And he's just like, "Hi-oh," and he's just there. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh my God, Kermit, I love you. I used to watch the Muppet." And he starts like moving his hand, like he starts whacking off, and like Kermit, no, no, and it comes up, and he's got this huge black dick, and he's just going to town on, and he's just going, "Oh, Miss Piggy," and the horror on people's faces, they cannot believe. I laughed so hard. I saw
I
that.
I never understood Kermit and Piggy's relationship. Like I don't understand the attraction. I
Married
she
to a
treats him
pig.
like shit.
Oh,
Treats him like
she can't
shit.
get out. He can't get out. There's a million relationships
She
like that.
kill
You're
and then
married
she
to a pig.
threatens to kill him if they leave. Like, oh,
He's a weak man. He's a fundamentally weak man. That's the whole dynamic.
that's the American man. That's they fed it to us subconsciously. That's it. Yeah, these dominant
Dominant
women.
our relationship, and she's a pig. She's a fucking pig, and she thinks she's the hottest shit ever. That's what
That trainer we had, that Vietnamese trainer, it was something about astrology. I was like, "What year were you born?" She's like, "Oh, the year of the boar." I was like, "You mean the
You mean
pig?"
pig? Yeah.
It's not a boar, it's a pig. Yeah,
So I'll tell
yeah.
you something. In China, like pig is ultimate good. Like
It's
if you're
delicious. It's
that's
delicious.
super super lucky. Like people are proud to be pig. Pig is
Really?
like super good sign. Like yeah, pig is beloved.
What is the sign that you kind of really don't want? That's kind of like, eh.
Probably rat.
No, stop that. That's ridiculous. That's the most sought after one. Which one do you really not want?
They're all special, man. Like I mean, they each like this is the year of the snake. And in China, like snake is immortality and like medicine and like all the shit that like you'd think it'd be evil because we got like the Garden of Eve and the Garden of Eden in the West. But it's totally good. Same with horse, same with monkey, tiger. They're all special and unique in their own way. Yeah,
That
good and
is.
bad. There's not the duality thing in China. They're very. It's very rare for Chinese people to say something is bad.
Well,
Like they
I'm
just
terming it wrong. If you had a choice to be in a year born, I imagine a couple are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of the rest, and one of them's
yeah.
going to be on the bottom. One's going
Like
to be on the.
tiger and dragon are at the top and rats at the bottom, like that
Mm,
sort of,
no, absolutely not. No, it's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking lie. Yeah.
Austin, what's
That
your
thing.
zodiac, man? Chinese.
Taurus.
Chinese zodiac.
Chinese. I mean, I'm
Same
born
as
in
yours, Dean.
May.
Oh, are you
When
1990?
yeah.
Oh, dude. So you're the horse. You're a horse like me. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I only
Wow.
know about it from the paper in the Chinese restaurant. It's
Would you like to hear the
big
story of
out.
the horse? Do you know the story of the horse in China?
No, please
Uh,
tell me.
So there's a green nose monster that's living on this mountain, and he breathes out this green smoke, and it goes down to all the villages in China, and it begins to like slowly poison everyone. Like everybody starts to like get very sleepy, and they're all going into this coma. So the warrior, and all these stories have the warrior, and the warrior has to go climb the mountain to go and slay the green nose monster. But as he's climbing the mountain, the green smoke's getting denser and denser and denser, and he begins to choke and he falls off the mountain. And the whole time, there's a horse out in the field, and the horse sees the Chinese warrior and he feels deep sympathy for him. So he runs over to the warrior, and the horse starts to die as he's going into the green smoke. And just as he makes it to the warrior, he dies and becomes a white lotus. And the white lotus purifies the air around the soldier. He brings it up to his nose like a mask. He climbs up the mountain with the white lotus, slays the monster. And from that moment on, the horse is forever worshipped in China.
That's a true story. I believe it. It went down just like that. Yeah.
Green nose monster, man. Yeah. The pig is the best story because the pig, how he beats the monster, there's a hole that has this wind coming out and it like freezes everything. And they're like, oh, everything's going to freeze. All the crops are going to die. How are we going to fix the hole? And the pig is fat enough to stop the hole. They just stuff the pig in the pool and he stops the wind. So they're like, we're going to worship the pig now. He saved us with his fat ass. Thank God. You know?
It's a great story. It's relatable to the stories we said at the beginning about the the psychic abilities and the spiritual events. It's like then it's just the story in itself is fascinating and gives you something. You don't even have to believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
It's
But sometimes they do touch down on reality, right? Like, so actually, how Buddhism first comes to Tibet is through China, right? Basically, they unite all the tribes and they start to like kind of kick China's ass a little bit. And so the emperor's like, fuck, I got to send, we're going to arrange a marriage. I'm going to send one of my daughters over there, you know? So there's this Chinese princesses, and this is Tang Dynasty China. Tang Dynasty China is like elite golden age China. It is the peak of culture and technology in the world. Everything's draped in silks and they speak in poetry. Like it is a truly golden era, you know? So they send this bitch off to Tibet, and Tibet is like savages, man. These are the red feet face people. Like they paint their face red and they like worship the mountain gods. They're basically Mongolians, right? And so she goes up there and she's like, oh my God, this is awful. Like I hate everything about this. And her husband was 6 years old, just like he was a 6-year-old prince. She's literally got nothing to do and she's just going crazy down there, you know. Well, there's this new empress called Wu Zetian. She fucking kicks out all the Buddhists in China. She's like, we're all Taoists now. Fuck the Buddhists for political reasons. So there's all these Buddhists that are wandering and they get rejected from city after city because of the empress. Eventually they make it over to Tibet and they're like, hey, can we stay in your city? And she's like, oh my God, Chinese people. Yes, stay, stay, stay. And so thousands and thousands of Buddhists make these giant refugee camps. And I'm reading through this and I'm like, oh, this is how Buddhism comes to Tibet. But guess what? They all bring smallpox with them. One day, the empress wakes up. She's got a boil on her breast. She dies. And guess what? All the Buddhists are kicked out of Tibet. We're never going to have Buddhism here ever again, you know? But there's something cool. This bitch brought a Tang Dynasty golden Buddha. And that golden Buddha from, 2,000 years ago, you can still see it today. The very one that Chinese princess brought, it's there in a monastery in Lhasa, you know? So even though they're, got these crazy stories, it still touches in reality. I love that shit, man. So cool.
where's Lhasa?
That's the capital of Tibet.
I
It's
want
like
to
in
go.
the Central Plains.
I'd
Yeah.
love to go to Tibet, man. That would be fucking just to feel the air, man. That would be fucking worth it.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the altitude. I was in Lijiang, which is in Yunnan, but up the Himalayas. It took me like 24 hours to adjust to the altitude. It was crazy high.
There-
It felt
There's a spiritual element to mountains, like in the altitude and shit. Like that felt it in Bhutan. I felt it in Peru when I was there. It's like, "Ew." It's a different kind of vibe. You could see just the presence, man. That's all I can say. It was interesting.
yeah. Did you feel more of the spiritual energy from the mountains or the ocean?
Oh, the mountains.
The mountains, yeah. I guess the mountains.
Ocean's just another world to me. That's just like it's like space to us. It's like going in space. It's totally beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, I think the mountain would definitely leave an imprint, especially if you were a people of the mountain, like the mountain's always there in the background, unclimbable, bigger than everything. Yeah, of course that would be your god. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense to me.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Shall we call it there? Yeah.
All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for listening to the Divine Brothers podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.